Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you this neat little fun fold card that I made using the Path of Petals bundle. So that's the Path of Petals stamp set with the Petal Labels dies. So I'm going to show you a little bit of behind the scenes of my thought processes. Oh gosh, this could be scary. When I first get a stamp set, I like to take the dies out and just take a look at what I have here. And with these dies, we've got like this big oval, and then we've got this with this floral cutout on it, and then we've got a smaller one that actually fits inside there, and then we have this little delicate thin one that cuts out too, and it goes right inside, so you could cut that label out at the same time, or you can just stamp your sentiment on there the way I did. Well, actually, I didn't use it on this, and then pop it on top. So my first thought process with that was I wanted to die cut this floral image here and just to see how big it was. And so what I did is I made a quick little card, and I just used black and white. I wasn't concerned about decorating it up, but I just took a black card base, and then I saw how big this die would go on it, and I was like, oh, okay, if I cut something out here. I was going to use this die, but I wanted a little bit bigger of an opening, so I used a layering ovals dies, and then I just did a real quick, and I don't know why I did this, I was just playing around, but it just gives me an idea of how big the dies are and such. So then I went to town on making this one here. I was trying to look for kind of some neutral colors for weddings that you're not sure, you know, of how to match it up. And I thought the real prettiness of the gray, the smoky slate gray, and the blushing bride worked really pretty. And that way I could use the silver metallic pearls to coordinate with the smoky slate. So let's take a look at our cutting measurements. Remember, you can always find the measurements and supplies I use underneath the YouTube post on the description. And also you can go over to my blog where you will find the written directions too, or you can go in the search bar and you can look up Path of Petals, and one of the links that'll come up will be this card. So first things first, so we're going to start with our card base. Now our card base is smoky slate, and it's a half sheet of an 8.5 by 11, and it is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and we score it at 5.5. And then we're going to be, it's opening it this way. So it's technically, I guess, a landscape card, but it's opening up from the right here. And then because we're going to put this piece inside here, so that when it's open, we're going to see this, we have to make this 5 1/4 by 4. So that meant I cut down my piece of Whisper White down to 10.5 by 4. So I still had the 4, but 5 1/4 plus 5 1/4 makes 10.5, and I scored it at 5 1/4, and then that gives me that really nice border around here, and then you open the card that way. So there we go. So that is our card base, that is our inside, and then we're going to be needing a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 of the Blushing Bride to go on the outside of the card, and then we're going to have a piece to actually do this neat little oval here on the inside of the card. Alrighty, so let's just move some of these out of the way, and I'm going to show you how. The first thing you're going to do, you're going to take your petal pink and you're going to put the large floral oval die there, and you're just going to center it exactly on the card. And if you have to, you can pop some tape on there just to keep it secure. Your magnetic plate should hold it down because it's a big die, excuse me, with a lot of metal on it. But if not, just put a little piece of some adhesive there that's removable and just run it through your big shot. And when you do that, you are going to end up with a piece that looks like this. Now you're going to notice this has some subtle embossing on here. Yes, I did use the subtle embossing folder, and I just popped it into my pink. After you die cut it, don't do it before. After you die cut it, and I just put it, always keep your logo facing up, and then you'll know you're putting it in the embossing side. And I just popped it into my embossing folder, closed it, and then ran it through the Big Shot, and I ended up with this beautiful, couple little scraggles there. This beautiful subtle embossing. When I first made the card, I just had it plain, and it just looked plain. So you can see the difference that you get with that subtle embossing folder. Alrighty, so then we have to take our gray, and we have to cut this inside out of the gray, this oval here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're not going to adhere this yet, but you're going to put it exactly where you think it'll be whenever you adhere it. And then you're going to take from your layering oval dies, and this is the one that's 1 7/8 inch this way and 2 3/4. So if you measure it out from the cutting ends, it's 1 7/8 by 2 3/4, and that will be on my blog. You're going to just center it right in the middle, all kinds of little fragments here, right in the middle of that smoky slate, and just adhere it to the card base. Then you're going to remove this because we don't want to run that through. And then you're going to open up your card. If you run it through like this, what are you going to do? You're going to put 2 layers, and you're going to have a hole in the middle that you can see right through. So what you're going to do is open it up and then run it through your Big Shot that way. And then by the magic of video, you have an opening on your card. So now I want you to recall that when you cut this out, you had this piece of gray left over. Well, of course we're going to use that piece of gray. We're going to put this scallop oval that's around the best wishes here, and we're going to just pop it onto the gray, and then we are going to have our piece of gray there. So we are not wasting one piece of paper on this card. So we're going to pop that along the side there. So now we have that already done. And now let's get this pretty subtle pink embossing put on here. So what we're going to do is grab our snail here, and we're going to make sure we're on the right side. Let me see which is the right side. That is the correct side. Or is this the correct? The nice thing about the subtle, this is the bad side. Yeah, the nice thing about the subtle is if you accidentally put it on the wrong way, you really don't tell too much with the subtle, but it does have a good side and a bad side. So I'll get this would be a good place to use some Tombow as well because of the smaller sides there. So then we're just going to get our pink, which is our Blushing Bride, and we're going to get it so that it's centered on the smoky slate. So now we've got that part done. So as I was looking at that, that's when I first looked at this card. I said, I need to have something that has a pretty background in it. So what I did is I put this scripty embossing folder on this inside here, but then I saw this open area here too. Okay, so when we cut out this, we ended up having this left over. So we had this piece left over. Well, we weren't going to waste that either. So what I did is I stamped the best wishes for your joyful day on that pink, and then I cut it out with the layering ovals dies. And again, I'll have that measurement on the blog. So once again, we didn't waste that inside there, and we stamped the best wishes, and we are going to just put that on the gray so that it is not lost. So we just make sure our pretty little scallops are centered all around the sentiment, and we've got that sentiment part done. So here we go. We know this is going to go inside, but we want to have this white border here. Okay, so we're going to work with this piece that we did, and remember it's going to be opening this way. So since this is opening this way, we want to emboss this side. So I just took the scripty, and of course the Stampin' Up! Logo's on the top, and this one I'm going to put, you just want to think when you're doing this, you want to have it in like this, okay, so that it's opening from the left side, okay? So that means you would put in this piece, and what I did is I just got it to where it was folding right on that fold, then I opened it up, okay? So it was okay if you had like a tiny bit of blank space there, but you're going to put it through your embossing folder. Oh, remember, always put the bound edge of your embossing folders through your Big Shot first. It saves the integrity of your embossing folder. So what you're going to do is keep this open. You don't want to fold it back because you'll get some impressions from the embossing folder that you don't want. So you're going to run it through your Big Shot, and I suggest when you're running it through your Big Shot, run it through until you feel that clunk when it goes through, and you shouldn't have any impressions over here from anything. So then when you pull out that, you're going to have this beautiful embossing here on the correct side here, okay? So then it's going to go into the inside of the card. But before we do the inside of the card, I want to stamp in here. So we are going to get out our smoky slate, and we are going to stamp the beautiful wedding. I love this saying. It's really pretty. Here's to always finding joy in one another's laughter, warmth in one another's embrace, and love in one another's lives. If I was writing the poem, I would have said, and love in one another's eyes. I thought that would be pretty. Or maybe that should be beauty. So what we're going to do is just ink up our sentiment with our smoky slate. Luckily, my smoky slate runs on the drier side, so I should be good. So then I just use my grid lines to kind of get a, even though it's photopolymer, it just gives me, feels like I'm being a little more straight. So then I'm standing on my tippy toes and I am stamping the sentiment. And then once I got that sentiment on there, I wanted to put a little pink on the inside of the card. So I'm working on getting these flowery things here. So what I want to do though is I want to protect my surface here because it's just so pretty. I don't know what it is about wanting to keep our surface that is a scratch paper. But what we're going to do is use our petal pink. So we're going to, not petal pink. Petal pink has more of that peachy tone. The Blushing Bride, I think, actually has like a grayish tone to the pink. So what we're going to do is use this really pretty leaf impression, okay? And we're going to just ink that up with the petal pink, and I'm just going to put it here on the side. Just kind of runs up the side along the score line. Give it some pressure there, and we've added some color inside there. And when I first did that, you could just leave it that way, but I had to just go one more step here, and I'm going to see if this fits. And how much did it? So this little, I started at that leaf, okay. So then, there we go. Put one, apply a little pressure there, and then we've got some pink on that side. So I think that kind of gives, it does look pretty just on one side, but, so you could do it either way. Tell me what you think. Would you have just put the single one, or would you have not put this one here? But I did already. Okay, so now we have that part of the card done. So then we're just going to adhere that to our card. And then, and remember, not so much with this, but if you're using glue, don't splatter glue all over the inside of your card. I've got some cards from swaps that if it's a dark card and it brushes off a little bit of color on the inside, it just looks kind of wonky. So, okay, so now look how pretty that scripty is. Oh my gosh, I love that. Such a beautiful, nice, goes with everything. Someday I'm going to sit down and read it. So there we go. We have our opening on that side, and then we close it, and we're like, oh, isn't that pretty? Okay, so now we know we're going to pop this into the middle, okay? And I use dimensionals to pop that up there. Oh my gosh, dimensionals, what would I do without them? And my husband said, you know, after stamping class, maybe you could vacuum. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I could, because literally yesterday we were finding dimensionals everywhere downstairs in the kitchen and everywhere. On the puppies, they had them on everywhere. And I said, yes, I could do that, you know. And my husband and my sons sometimes work out at home, so their command central is the kitchen table. And they're like, I see them wiping dimensionals off, but they are kind of hard to see the backs of them. So there we go, we have that. Now, you can see the difference in adding this pink. After I had this done, I thought, oh, something a little more, and then I thought, no, maybe it's better that way. You can see more of the script, but then I added the pink and I was happy about that. And the way I did that is I made this pink frame here by just using the 2 dies that are bigger than the one that I did the Best Wishes with, okay? So what I did is I just, see, the Best Wishes was cut with that one. And then I just picked the next 2 sizes up, and I'll have those measurements too. Actually, this smaller one is 1.5 by 2.5, and this one is 2 1/8 by 3. And this little one that we cut out, the Best Wishes for a Joyful Day, it was 1 inch by 2 inch. So I'll have those measurements on my blog. And so then all you have to do is take this and put it inside here. Okay, so that means I put a little bit of adhesive. I'm just going to get out my Tombow here. And I just put a little bit of it right on the inside here of, and I might be messing things around here. Just put a little bit of adhesive around the inside of the oval. Okay. And then I will kind of close it because I really want to see that I get even placement here. Okay, so you just want to get it to where it's, there we go. I think I'm good there. And then just hold it together, and just that extra layer of the Blushing Bride really added to the card. I mean, look at that. Yeah, you had a little bit of planning on this card, but really it came together really quick. But we don't want to forget these beautiful metallic pearls. So then I just took the flowers here, and if you want to put a little bit of glue underneath your flowers here, like these edges, you can. And then you just pick up and put the silver. Silver looks so pretty with the gray. And so I just put those into the flowers. I love it when I make a card and I use all the little pieces and inserts as they're not, you know, thrown away. Not that I throw away any scrap anyhow. I have so many scraps. Like I could go to Scraps Anonymous because I just tend to think that every scrap I have is going to be used for something. And sometimes when I have a bunch of scraps, I save them for my friend Steph because she loves to make stuff with scraps too. And so here we go. Let's get that pearl. He's hopping around there. There we go. Just look how pretty those pearls look with that. So I think this just makes a wonderful card for a wedding. And even though you don't know the colors of the wedding, well, sometimes you do when the invitation comes, but even if you don't know the whole plan or whatever, you're kind of safe going with neutral colors there. So we just put those metallic pearls on there, and then just look how pretty that is. So you can order these on my blog if you need to, and it's the Path of Petals bundle that comes with the petal labels dies. And I use the Scripty. This is one of my new favorites here, the Scripty embossing folder. And of course, love the subtle embossing folder. So there you go. I did have somebody one time ask me, you know, I got that subtle embossing folder and you can barely see it. And I'm like, well, that's why it's called the subtle embossing folder. You know, it just gives a little added something different. Like, look how different it is from the flat pink. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can call or text me at 724-323-2296. Hop on over to my blog on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I like to post my projects and what I've been up to. If there's some other special news, like the new trimmer that's coming out November 1st, and the Christmas time is coming on November 1st. So this may be posted after that date. But if you're looking for any promotions or any sales or any special news from Stampin' Up! Or from me, you'll see it over on my blog. So if you like this YouTube video, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.